So hi, everyone. So you've built an app that has a map. Let's say it's a conference app that has a map of the venue, or it could be a map of a mall showing all the stores there, or it could be a map to guide users to their medical appointments, or something else. And you add panning and zooming there, like the gestures. You test it, it works fine. You ship it, you're happy. Then, after a while, you start maybe receiving some feedback, or you yourself start wondering, can everyone actually use this app? Well, spoiler, if it just has the gestures, probably not. So, hi everyone, my name is Eeva-Jonna Panula, or Eevis Panula, and I'm mobile accessibility developer from Finland. And I'm Android GDE. So I really love to share what I've learned around accessibility, Android development, mobile app development, and I speak at different events. I write a blog, and there's going to be a link to that later in the talk. And I'm also a disabled person. And I think it's pretty important to mention this because there's often some misconceptions that disabled people can't be developers. There are many of us, so I'm not the only one. So just wanted to mention that there. And when I don't do something work-related, I do different kinds of sports. Right now, the list would be something like boxing, gym, running, golf, kayaking, and then probably this time next year, I've picked something else. So I've started collecting different kinds of hobbies or sports. And my pronouns are they and she. And I added this here explicitly to remind me to say the following things. I feel like I need to give a content warning of this talk because last time when I was talking in Prague last autumn, I shared some things in my talk related to LGBTQ+ themes, and after the talk, I got some pretty nasty feedback. And I didn't realize back then that I should have probably given some sort of warning about this, but hey, here's a content warning. This talk is going to contain some LGBTQ+ related themes, and if you're someone who gets offended or triggered of these themes, I suggest that maybe this is not the talk for you. And I think it would be probably better for both of us if you left right now, so you don't ruin your day. And then after ruining your day, you don't ruin mine. So no hard feelings there. I'm just thinking about both of our days so that they would be better. So yeah. The warning has been given here. You know what to expect, so you don't get surprised on that. Whew, that was kind of that's always a bit hard to say, because you never know what the reaction is. So I noticed that I'm a bit I was a bit nervous to tell that. But yeah, hey, let's get back to the theme. So I asked that would everybody be able to use the app if you add just the pan and zoom gestures? And I said that probably not. And if we talk about the user groups that would be left out with these kinds of maps, well, there are, for example, people who navigate with keyboard, or switch device, or with voice control, or screen reader, because these assistive technologies don't actually support panning and zooming effects, or they don't work with gestures out of the box. And then there is this group of users who have some sort of disability that actually prevents them from doing multi-path gestures, such as pinch and zoom, or panning, or anything that requires actually for example, two like fingers to do, for example. So this could be somebody who has like whose hands are like shaking all the time. So it might be hard to actually like do everything that's needed for like using these pan and zoom gestures. And this is actually not an edge case. There are about 15% of the world's population who have some sort of disability. Of course, not everyone has the same access needs, but still, it's a big group of people. And as we saw in the previous slide, there are multiple different groups for whom like these pan and zoom gestures don't work. And you know, we use apps too, if they are accessible for us. And by we, I mean disabled people. With accessibility, well, in many cases, the sad truth is that you actually might need to refactor your app or component or whatever you are building to make it actually accessible. But in this case, I have good news. You actually don't need to redo everything. You can extend the code that you have. So if you have these pan and zoom gestures, you can just extend the implementation to make it actually more accessible. And that's what we are going to do today. So next, I'm going to share a bit about what we are doing, what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some live coding, but what we are actually doing there, and about the app that I've created for this. And a little backstory for the app. So I'm originally from this little city in Finland called Seinäjoki, which is 400 kilometers from north from Helsinki. If you've heard or know where Helsinki is, so it's about 400 kilometers north from there. And as many smaller cities in Finland, it's been really conservative. And when I grew up there, it was even worse than what it is today. But they have their own Pride event there that's happening this week, actually. And I'm super happy about it because, well, it's not like, well, when I grew up, it wouldn't have been possible. So I'm happy that it's happening now. And they have a website where they list their events. So I decided to build, like based on the website, I decided to build an app displaying all the events for this week. And yeah, so this is basically what the app looks like. It's a Kotlin multi-platform app. And here's the like screenshot of the desktop version that I'm gonna actually like, well, that's the one that I'm gonna display the whole time because it's with the hot reload, it's the easiest one to update. There, it also has like mobile apps, so Android and iOS, and it also has a web version, but I forgot to take a screenshot of that one. But basically, it's in Finnish. It lists the events there for like the events that are happening the whole week. Like there are some pride flags there, but also like events for each of the days for this week, and then details of those. And then there is a map as well. And I'm going to display the map in a moment. The map was something that I made. It wasn't on the website, so like it could be more beautiful. I'm not the designer, so like maybe sorry about that. But yeah, this is basically the app on top of what I'm going to do some live coding. Okay, I'm not going to do that yet, actually. So a couple of words before actually diving into the code. How are we building the things that we are building today, or like extending the code? And for this particular use case, so having a map with just the gestures available, there's one way in which it's possible to actually like provide more accessible experience for many user groups, pretty much every user group that I listed previously. And that's buttons. And buttons are something that go a long way with gestures. So this also applies to charts, navigation within charts or graphs, or like so-called real maps. So like if you have some like geographical map and not a SVG map like we are having today, buttons are the answer to providing more accessible experience when there are just gestures available. So yeah, let's get to building, and I'm just gonna, okay, so this is, hopefully you can see this one here. I promised I'm gonna show the map before here. Okay, so basically here's the like the desktop app, and here we have the map, and this is the page that we are working with. So here is a like map of the central Seinäjoki with the like addresses or locations of the all of the events, and then there is actually like addresses listed as well. So if you ever visit Seinäjoki, you can find these places from those addresses. But yeah, okay, let's get back to the code. And there's basically like, I have one composable called map page that contains an image here if we scroll down a bit. And that's basically it for the map right now. So I'm using image of like a SVG file there. And how I'm actually like, there are these like zoom and panning gestures available already. And how I've done it is that there is a couple of variables that control like zooming or zoom level and the position on the map. And one of them is scale and the other is offset. And they have default values of like 1 and then offset 0. And then there is a state that is actually transformable state. I could have called it that as well. That actually handles the change in like in the gestures. And then here in the image, we use the transformable state or pass it in there. And then there is the graphics layer modifier that actually controls the like zooming or the scale and then like translation. So basically like zooming and then panning there. And then I've also added a pointer input here just to make it easier to like tap and zoom a bit. But that's just, well, not part of this talk today. So what we want to do here is that we want to add those buttons. So first of all, let's add buttons so that users can zoom in and out in the on the map. So basically, what I want to do is let them be able to do this. Okay. So as the image is there as the only like element, I'm just going to wrap it with box. And then I actually am going to create a composable called buttons. I hope that I remember to actually talk when I'm doing something, because sometimes when I try to explain what I'm doing, I do it only in my head and then forget to say anything out loud. But yeah, this buttons component is going to be the one that's wrapping actually the buttons that we are going to add there. And it's going to take in a modifier because we need to actually align it on the page. And I'm just going to add a column here as a wrapper and pass in the modifier. And then as we have the box here, I'm just going to add the buttons component here and then, I'm just gonna scroll it a bit, and then add as the modifier, I'm just gonna add alignment there, because we want to align the buttons to the bottom end, because that's the familiar place where users are often looking for these kinds of controls. So it's not that alignment, and then bottom end there. Okay, right now there is nothing new visible on the screen, so I'm not going to show anything there. But for the buttons, I actually have created a couple of helpers just to make things a bit shorter here and not write everything here. But there is a composable called map button that takes in an action. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. And then there is an on-click handler that it takes action as a parameter and returns a unit. And inside of it, there's actually icon button that has different kinds of things like colors if it's enabled, and then the on-click event for that, and then the actual icon, so that we can add these icon buttons or the map buttons there. And then I have the enum action, because we're going to add these 6 actions here. So there's up and down and left and right, and then zoom in and zoom out. And then I've added also content description and icons, and actually decrease, because we are using one icon component, or one icon drawable, and then just rotating it to look right. So we are using an arrow to point the direction where the user is moving the map to. And here are the content descriptions. They are in Finnish as well, because the whole app is in Finnish. Content descriptions should be in that language as well. Okay, getting back to the buttons, let's first add the zoom in and zoom out buttons, and let's first add the buttons before we actually add the functionality there. So I'm just going to add a map button that has an action of action, and then zoom in, and then on-click handler that we're going to change to something in a bit. And then I'm going to add another with the zoom out. And now we have actually already something visible on the screen. Let's see it. Yay, it's there. It's on the behind me, so you actually can't see it. This is actually, I'm just going to do a bit of a, oh no, not that. Okay. Now it's more visible to you as well. So there are the buttons. They are a bit light on this theme, but they are there. And I'm going to add a bit of padding around them, because they are really on the edge of the screen. And it's going to be 16 density independent pixels, and just checking that everything is right there. Yes, there is a bit of breathing area there. And then right now they don't do anything, but we can add some actions or some on-click stuff there to actually make them do something. And for this buttons composable, we're gonna actually add here an on-click method, which we're just gonna pass into both of these map buttons. And then here in the where we call the buttons, we're gonna just define the on-click, which has the action, and then we need to do something with that action. Okay, there's a yes. Okay, now it's visible there. And here I'm just gonna call when, because well, its action is an enum, so we can do stuff based on whatever it is. And right now I'm just gonna add a else branch to get the squiggly lines to go away. We're going to return to that in a bit. But right now we want to do something when the action is zoom out or the action is zoom in. And I mentioned before that there is this scale variable that's used for controlling the zooming level. So what we can do here is that we can change its value. And there is minimum and maximum zoom levels in this map. The minimum is 1 and then maximum is 2. So that's why when we are zooming out, we want to take actually the minimum value of scale times 1.1f and then 2f. So if the new value, scale times 1.1, is more than 2, we want to actually take the 2. And then for the zoom in, we do similar thing and take the maximum of scale divided by 1.1f and then the minimum zoom level. And this way, there is actually some like zooming and zooming in and out. And let's see how it looks like in action. Okay, I'm gonna switch here, and I'm just gonna look at my screen because I don't find the buttons if I look there. Okay, yep, okay, now I get it. Yes, sorry, it's pretty like my brain is not working that well here because I'm like in front of you all. Maybe like if you've ever coded in front of anyone, then you know maybe what I'm talking about. Maybe things are working. No, the other way here. Okay, yes, now it's working. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, now we have the like zoom in and zoom out there. And the next thing would be actually add the arrows to move around. And let's go back to the buttons. Let's again add them like visually first and then the action later. And this time we actually want to stack them in a way that there is like an up arrow and down arrow on their own lines, and between them there is like left and right on the same like row. And I'm just gonna do it so that there is first the map button with action up there, and then it does have the on click there, and I'm actually just going to do some copy pasting here because that's what I always do. But for the next two, I'm just going to have a row to have them on the same row. So this would be left and this would be right. And then the final one would be a down. And let's see. Okay, now the other way. Yay, we have the correct buttons here, but they are not aligned correctly. So I'm just gonna add a bit of alignment here on the column that's wrapping. It's like horizontal alignment, and it's going to be alignment center horizontally. And then, okay, no, this way. Yay, the buttons are there. I'm going to make it a bit smaller just so that you can see it better. So the buttons are there in a way that I wanted them to be right now. Of course, they take a pretty big area there. So like in a real application, there could be some sort of like hiding and like showing them some sort of things like that. But I'm not going to do that today. Okay, now we have the buttons. We just need to add the actual, not that way, the actual like functionality there. And I'm going to go back here. We have this on-click handler here, or like the thing where we define everything. And I'm gonna actually add a new function to handle the moving around part. And let's just call it move for now. And inside of it, I'm again gonna use the when, because that's a nice one. And I'm gonna add an else branch, and then what I'm gonna do here, well, there is the like offset I mentioned before here that controls the position of the image and like where user has moved it. So I'm gonna actually update that one. And with when, we can do a nice thing of just getting the offset value and then setting it later to the offset. So I'm just gonna create a variable, call it new offset. And if in case it's like not the ones that we are handling here, because there are the zoom in, zoom out things, we just want to use the old offset for that. And I'm gonna set the offset to new offset here, and then add the actions to up, action down. Okay, then action left and action right. And we're gonna define here an offset based on the like direction where we are moving. And I'm actually gonna, for convenience, I'm just gonna create a variable move amount is what I want to have here, so that it's easy to then change if this is not the amount that I want the like image to be moved. So here, for when we are going up, we just set the offset to x offset to offset x, because we don't want to change that. And then y would be offset y plus the move amount. And then for the down, it would be minus. Let's see if I get this correctly on the first time. And then for left, it would be probably plus move amount for the x coordinate. And then I'm going to trust you. Let's do it this way. So it's for the left, it's minus, and then for the right, it's plus. So yeah, we have these here, and we are setting the new offset to offset here. And we're just gonna call the move here when we have some other action than zoom in or zoom out. So let's do it that way. And then everything should work now. No, I'm gonna learn at some point. So yes, we are going up, we're going left, we're going right, and we're going down. So thank you. I would have gotten them wrong on the first try. So yeah, okay, we have now the buttons. There are a couple of little tweaks that we still want to do. First of all, the current implementation doesn't allow users to actually move the map around with gestures if there is no zoom. So we're going to add that to the buttons as well. And then the other thing is that when user can't move around, we probably should disable the buttons there. So a couple of more things. And yes, I got to the right place. So for the first one, if the scale is, or the zoom is on the default value, so default scale or zoom, so 1f, we actually don't want the offset to be somewhere else. We want it to be on the default value. It makes more sense on the, like, once I'm implemented it and show it there. So I'm just going to add here, when we handle the zoom out, a condition that if the scale that we just defined, if it's 1f, let's do it with the most straightforward way that we can do. If it's 1, then we set the offset to offset 0, which is the default value that we are using in this. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna do this reload here and then get to the right one. So now if I zoom in and start moving, the map is, well, it's not centered, but when I start, okay. Yep. Yes. I was doubting my implementation. So yeah. So if I move it again and then start zooming out, as long as it's more than 1, it still respects the offset that, or like where we have moved it. But when we get to the default value, it actually centers the map there. And then the other thing, so disabling the buttons when the scale is the default. For that, I'm just gonna add a new parameter for the buttons called move buttons enabled, and that's a boolean. And I'm just gonna pass it to these map buttons, because if we go down here, there is a parameter called enabled, which we can use. And I'm just gonna take these here and set the enabled to move buttons enabled. And then here in the where we call the buttons, I'm just gonna add a condition that when the scale is more than 1F, then these buttons are enabled. And let's see here. Okay, now we can see that the buttons are actually disabled here. It's, well, the app has light theme, so and usually disabled buttons are pretty hard to see. So I'm sorry, I hope that you can see them there, but they are disabled here. And then when I start zooming in, they become enabled, and then when I zoom back out, they become disabled. So basically, this was what I was wanted to demonstrate here, and just to kind of prove that these things work, because now I've been using my mouse to zoom in, zoom out, use these buttons. I'm just going to navigate there. Sorry, the focus indicator is really it's not visible here. I haven't done anything. This is the default focus indicator. There are ways to make it more visible, but I haven't for this implementation. But right now, there is a slight ripple on the zoom in button, and I'm just going to press enter. And you can see that the map is zooming in. Then I'm going to navigate to the zoom out button, and I'm just going to zoom out, and I'll do it back in, so the buttons are working as well, like the move buttons there. And I'm not going to demonstrate this with a screen reader, voice access, switch access, because it's a bit harder to set up with my Mac here. But this works with a keyboard. These buttons are available, so it works with other assistive technologies as well. And for those people who can have for example, tremors in their hands, they can still press the button because these have enough touch target size. So this way, this is actually pretty accessible version and way pretty great way to improve the accessibility of the buttons. All right, I think I might have one slide here. Yes, thank you. To sum up what we did today, basically we added for a SVG map, we added buttons to improve the accessibility of the map that already had some zooming and panning gestures. So now more people can actually use that map there. And this is one way. You could even improve this implementation by, for example, adding keyboard shortcuts or, for example, accessibility actions or other things. So yeah, there are ways to improve even more. So thank you for listening. My name is Eeva-Jonna Panula, or Evis Panula, and you can find my contact information, my blog, everything from my website, which is evis.codes, eevis.codes. And I promise, I think I may have said that out loud, but I was supposed to promise that the code for this is available as well. And I don't have any link here, but you can find it on my Blue Sky, Mastodon, or LinkedIn. If I was able to schedule a post correctly, then it's out right now. If not, it's going to be there today at some point. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eve, for the wonderful presentation. I think we were a bit nervous together whether the gut of demo will be kind on us. I think everything went smoothly.
Thank you.
So great. We have couple questions. So the first one, let me read it from my mobile phone. If every mobile team in this room could improve just one accessibility area next quarter, what would you recommend? What would that be?
That's a really good question. There are so many things. Like there's the answer from my own perspective, what I would hope, and then I think like the one thing to improve would be start testing with different assistive technologies, not just with screen reader, but also like keyboard navigation. Because even if you are working with mobile apps, there are people who actually use their mobile phones with keyboard or keyboard emulating devices, and then maybe add like accessibility scanner to the mix if you are using Android, because that's a great tool for finding accessibility like problems there. So start testing with accessibility in mind, and not just screen reader accessibility, but in a wider sense. And I think that way, like, you're going to improve a lot of things.
Yeah, thank you. Related question. Would you consider accessibility testing part of the quality gating, or would you, treat it as a, let's say, different stage of the application development?
That's a good question as well.
What is your experience, maybe, or what would you recommend?
I would recommend accessibility to part of everything. So if it's a separate like stage, it's usually easy to forget or just say that, okay, like we're going to do it after we release this, or a year from now or 2 years from now, and then not do it. So that's why I think it should be part of like quality gating, definitely, because like that way actually you release quality apps for all kinds of users.
Mm-hmm. Agree. And the last one, what accessibility issue surprised you most through your career? Something really surprising which might, help our crowd, our audience, to prevent such a issue in future?
That's a good question. From my personal perspective, I would say animations. Because there is this setting called reduced motion or remove animations, depending on like the operating system. And when it's on, there are all kinds of fun things that might happen with the animations when they are not playing. Like there might be some missing information, for example. And I personally use that setting, and I come across with these kinds of funny things like, okay, I can't use this app because nobody never tested if like this thing works without animations. So yeah, that's probably like personally something that has.
So animations.
Yeah.